Boy, can I help you?
Listen up. I'm bringing you the best content to ever exist in the door-to-door industry, from sales, leadership, recruiting, and personal development.
Why would I need that?
Because never before have we been able to collaborate with the top experts in their industries, sharing their secrets and techniques on what makes them the best.
Wait, who are you?
I'm your host, Sam Taggart, creator of the D2D Experts and D2D Con. Is there a place we can sit down?
Well, come on in.
Register today for D2D Con, January 10th through 12th. Learn from over 40 amazing speakers, including the real Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Come as a team, learn as a team, leave as a tribe.
Hi, everybody. This is Sam Taggart with the D2D podcast, and I actually have a really interesting one for you guys today. I'm with Greg Elsberry, and he is with Cole Information, one of our primary platinum sponsors at D2D Con, and they are incredible when it comes to supplying us data. It's the data behind the doors. It's customers' phone numbers, customers' emails, their political parties, how long they've lived there, things like that help you go to a door with a lot more strategy. And we've got Greg who really is over all of the residential aspect and works with insurance companies to real estate agents and a ton of door-to-door companies, because they've really found that the ones that really maximize this data will go make more money. It's not leaving low-hanging fruit, being strategic about attacking a neighborhood, like picking up all the loose ends and the follow-up. There's so much valuable things that we can do with this. And today in this podcast, I'm going to welcome out our very special guest, Greg, and we're going to dive into all the theories and why they're such an amazing asset in our industry. So welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks, Sam. I might just hire you. That was beautiful. You want to join the team? I love that. Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
No, and I'm very passionate about this topic we're going to jam into, because after consulting like probably 50 companies this last year, I've just watched the inefficiencies, and if I could rewind and be back in my VP position with 100 reps or whatever, it would have been like, oh, guys, we're spinning our wheels and not really capitalizing, because I come from the knock another door. Knock another door, knock another door. And I'm not going to say get away from that. I'm going to say have the right tools, resources, and team and strategy around all the hard work that you're putting in. And I think a lot of companies, it's like throw them out there, pick up what we can get, and move on. And after doing what I'm doing now, I've approached it much differently. So I have a lot of passion. So it's not much. I'm not trying to sell anybody on this. There's no fight in the game for me, but I'm just, if you're listening to this, you probably should wake up and keep listening, because this is going to be really interesting. So first off, Greg, tell us a little bit about Cole and your relationship there, maybe how your story, fill us in.
Yeah. So Cole itself has been around for 70 plus years, right? And it was interesting as you kind of rolled out D2D Con last year. We kind of decided, how do we fit into this model? Because we certainly don't want to take away from knock another door, right? That's what got us here. We need to continue to ride that train. We need to focus on getting better every day. But our thoughts are, how do we add things to that train that make it a little bit faster, a little bit more robust, right? What do we do in pre and post knocking? So, that kind of mentality has stuck. And interestingly in itself, we used to have this thing called kind of a reference book, right? So we've actually been in kind of the door-to-door world for a very long time, where, we had this book that, we published 60, 70 years ago. People could look at it and walk up and down a street and know who lived where, right? So it was kind of a powerful phone book. And what was cool was we had some veterans of the game last year that came up to us and said, hey, you guys are the ones that did the book 30 years ago. So it was kind of cool.
We had some old dogs there.
Yeah, right. And I wish I would have brought one, because it was kind of paying homage to that old school mentality and who we used to be back then, which is why we kind of jumped in kind of full force with you guys and just kind of supporting the D2D effort. And just kind of running with you guys. So, from the standpoint of who Cole is, we're hyper local. We like to be in that neighborhood world, and really what it's all about is connecting our customers with their customers, right? In a multi-channeled kind of way. So whether they're knocking, whether they're on the phone, whether they're on Facebook or email, text, whatever it is, we want to give them the intelligence to go do that. So really that's kind of our message. That's our lens, what we coach every day.
That's awesome. So you don't just get name and address, because I think a lot of the apps and a lot of things out there are like, well, yeah, I know that, like, I'm buying the little data of name, address, so I can kind of know who I'm talking to. What kind of data are we talking about, like, that you guys provide?
Right. So it kind of expands behind that. And what I'll say is that, of our, 30,000 customers that log into our products every day, one of the main reasons they use us is because we have contact information. So giving them the ability to call somebody's landline, their cell phone, and their email is really kind of at the core of why people come to us. The intelligence side of things is really kind of where we've advanced who we were a little bit. So instead of saying, here's how you get in touch with people, here's how you get in touch with the right people, right? So knowing someone's credit score indicator, knowing their income, knowing what their home value is, do they own their home? The cars they drive with VIN, make, model, maybe people with an Acura or have a higher propensity to buy your product, or, exact age, we have language and ethnicity things. So
Wow.
there's 300 plus data elements that can really kind of take a funneled approach of saying, hey, let's not focus on 1,000 people. Let's focus on maybe 500 of the right people. So it's that mix of saying, hey, we can get you in touch with people and we can get you in touch with the right people.
How many names do you guys have? I mean, like, when you say, oh, we have data, like, do you have like millions upon millions? Like, is this like everybody in America type data?
Yeah. We're talking like 300 million plus, right?
300 million. Okay.
And honestly, when I started working here, I'm like, how the heck do they know everything, right?
That's
like, how this kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy, right? And it's a big database, and truly that's who we are. The data is updated every 30 days. I mean, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. We're not just, slinging lists here, right? There's a method to the madness, and accuracy is a big, part of that, right? Because if we tie a phone number to your address, we got to accurately say that that's Sam's phone number, right?
Yeah,
so
versus I moved 2 months ago.
Yep. And then that's through that.
But it's like, there's probably a lot of data suppliers out there, but it's those that are that are accurately trying to update that, find out where the little holes are, and I think you guys have done really well.
Yeah, that 30-day refresh rate, a lot of times we see quarterly. So just knowing you're hitting fresh data is nice. So
that's awesome. So now it's all about, okay, you're going to sell me all these names, 300 million names I just bought. I need a room full of file cabinets to,
right.
I mean, a house full, that's like an entire warehouse.
Yeah.
The good thing it's all digital now. So now it's plugging that data into a CRM, an email campaign. I started a company called Vanilla, which is a text campaign to where you can take these cell phone numbers. Now via text, you can do a campaign, or you could do a email drip, or you could do a lookalike audience. I guess I'm just spitballing, but I've studied marketing quite a bit, but tell me kind of like best strategies that you've watched some of these all-star companies be like, holy cow, this has turned our company around.
Right. And honestly, you just named a few right off the top of your head that I think a lot of people use, right? So, to take a step back, it's really kind of just this mentality of that multi-channeled approach, right? So, we kind of talk about 5 pillars, and to go through them relatively quickly and then maybe dive in. Mail. Honestly, snail mail is making a comeback because people actually are interested. Now, I'm not saying go throw your 2019 budget on mailers, but there's something to be said about saying how many touch points are we getting people? Because when I go get my mail, I'm actually looking through it. Sometimes when I go through my email, I'm kind of just clicking and deleting, right? So it's this mixed approach. The second would be outbound calling, right? So the fact that you've got landlines and cell phones to be able to proactively reach out to folks, right? So instead of proactively knocking on somebody's door, we're proactively calling somebody's phone, right? So the pitch stays the same, the mentality is the same, and frankly, just like it is kind of hard for some people to go up to that doorstep and knock that door, it's also hard for some people to actually pick up that phone and make that call, right? So they're very similar. They're very similar.
Exactly.
The third is going to be email, obviously using that to kind of nurture that campaign. 4, we talk about ringless voicemail, which is something that's kind of relatively new, but it allows you to take a group, let's just say it's a neighborhood, it's your neighborhood, of 1,500 people maybe. And we're going to take that, we're going to record a very kind of informal personal message, hey, this is Sam. I work with a lot of your neighbors. I'm actually going to be in the area next Thursday. I just want to let you know, here's a sale we're running, whatever it might be. But when you click go, that voicemail is instantly in that person's phone. So it's a pretty high open rate. We talked about text messages earlier before we started. It's a pretty high open rate. So if you can get, 10% of those people to engage with that message, and then maybe you get 10 to 15 calls right away, you've already opened the door before you've parked your car and got out of it. Right.
You know exactly where to start. You've already got a couple customers potentially.
Right. So that's another win there. And then fifth, frankly, is what people are really, really interested about, it taking a targeted kind of custom list. Let's just say that 1,500 people that we just talked about. And you can actually take the names, the cell phones, and the emails and upload that into Facebook. And it's now a custom audience. Okay. So instead of saying, hey, I want to target the Omaha area with this age range, and there's minimal filters that changes, every now and then, you can actually say, hey, I want to target this 1,500 people directly. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to have
direct ads.
Right.
It's like, so I was talking to a marketing guy the other day, and they go after like $30,000 clients, and they use this whole targeting, and they're like, we may have 5 emails, and we spend a lot of money on those direct targeting emails. And
right.
I was like, really? You put in 5 emails and they run Facebook ads to those 5 people over
to those 5 people, right?
Because they know those are worth if one of them buy, it's worth 30,000. And they're like, yeah, we've had they showed me their numbers, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I never even thought of how most of the time you build an audience of like a couple thousand or 10,000, you know what I mean? And there's power in just like, here's 100 emails of the 100 people I'm about to go knock to today.
Yep.
What if I just smashed them today in the morning, and where they live? They're on their phones. Like,
yeah. Yep. And we talked about that, right? People are on their phones more than they're at home. So, the likelihood of me getting hit both times and having a higher interest to talk to you, it goes way up. So again, to that kind of Facebook thought of saying, hey, let's hit them with kind of an emotional kind of connection, right? So if I'm on Facebook and somebody did this, let's just say for pest control, right, in the spring, and I'm scrolling through and it says, hey, your neighbors in Aspen Creek are saving money on their pest control, right? What happened there? I heard my neighborhood name, right? Or I saw my neighborhood name. It referenced my neighbors, so there was something my neighbors were doing that I potentially wasn't. Okay?
Yeah, like, what's going on?
You're hitting a couple chords there. So it's not just casting this wide net and saying, hey, gosh, I hope we catch some stuff today. It's being intelligent and saying, how do we get the targeted audience out there, and how do we get a targeted kind of connective message, right? So there's beauty there.
Yeah, you had like a high school football game going on Friday night, and these people all go to that high school in this area, and you're like, hey, we're doing a special giveaway at the football game tonight, and everybody's getting that on their Facebook, and they're like,
Yep. And Sam, what did you see? Like that's where one thing we like to do is say, hey, we're going to supply you with the intelligence and the way to get in touch, but the real beauty comes from when our customers get our data and leverage their kind of experience and strategy and expertise to say, what can we do with this? Right? Because that's where the magic kind of happens. So, and it's not about putting all your eggs in one basket, right? I mean, our approach is saying, how do we have a team effort, right? So think of a basketball team, right? Maybe the Pistons from back in the day. I love Ben Wallace because he was, just the man with that throw, right? And then you had Chauncey and everybody else, right? But the beauty of it was they all, they all had their role. And what made them successful was they all had their role. They knew what they needed to do together, right? So how do we equate that to kind of an omni-channel approach, right? If we're only good at rebounding, we can't score, right? So how do we implement those things on top that are going to help us to be a successful team, right? And again, if we're killing it door to door, and we don't want to stop that, you know, that's our linchpin. That's what got us here. But how do we say, hey, maybe we add some outbound calling before a rep goes into the neighborhood, and maybe we get 5 more points off that neighborhood, right? Or whatever it might be. And really it's but most likely, because, you know, if you leave 50 houses in a neighborhood, how much opportunity is still lying there, right? I mean, you have reps that hit every house religiously, and then you have reps that maybe just go in and they're on to the next one. Well,
and a lot of times those reps are really warming up the neighborhood, and they're waiting for somebody to rebound and follow up. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a face to do it. It may just be like, yeah, we had thought about it, but they're never going to pick up the phone and just naturally call that stranger that they had been pitched by. And they're like, out of sight, out of mind. All of a sudden they get touched 2 weeks later, and they're like, oh yeah, we've been meaning to call them back. And we never did. And they did.
I actually needed pest control, right? I actually needed pest control, but I was giving my kids a bath when you knocked.
Yeah, I was giving my kids
I saw in my ring, and you never came back, right?
Yeah, you never came back.
I didn't know who you were with, right?
Amen.
So that's really what the thought is. It's not getting away from what got us here, right? But it's also saying, what can we do pre and post to be more effective when we're there, but more effective when we're not there? Make that knock last for 6 months, right? Because you're doing those touch points afterwards.
And that's why literally I built Vanilla. I mean, not to sell that at all, but I mean, I was watching, I'm like, man, if I would have had a tool like this where I can literally click a button, if they're like, I'm in contract, you know, for another 6 months, I'd never called back. Like, I would totally out of sight, out of mind. I forgot. But I was like, if I can send that person down a campaign, then in 6 months they get a text message. It's like, hey, I know you're out of contract, man. You down to set up a time? If they say yes, it replies this. If they say no, it replies this. And it's some AI automated follow-up and pre-sale and retention. And, you know, I look at these two coupling so well together, because it's like, got all the data. Now I don't even have to knock. It's like, send these people down this campaign. Then I go follow up down with your data. And it's like, I don't even have to ask them for their phone numbers. Like, I already know your freaking shoe size. I know your, you know, I know your favorite color. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I mean,
you like golf?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like crazy stuff.
Crazy data that you get.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, and the other thing too, which Vanilla seems fantastic. I'm excited to kind of have some of those discussions about how we can integrate, you know. The other thought is saying, hey, you know, I'm selling solar, and I have this big house that faces south, right? Whatever it is, like, you know, that's like a golden goose for you.
Yes.
Imagine in your app, if they weren't home and you've knocked a handful of times, right? And you're like, that one keeps me up at night. I'm going to come back to this neighborhood until they're home. Well, what if in your door knocking app, right, you were able to actually hit call and call their cell phone, and have another way to get in touch with them, because you've been knocked 4 or 5 times. They're never home.
That if you talk
but
to them,
like, that's a really good opportunity for you.
I sold to 3 neighbors around him. It's a perfect south facing unobstructed. He's never home. No one else probably that's knocking solar could ever get a hold of him. But watch.
And it's perfect for me. How else can I get in touch with them?
100%.
Right. So in that aspect, it's not pre and post, Sam. It's not pre and post. It's actually when you're in the field. Maybe you're in your car and you hit call. That phone number's in the app, and you hit call and you say, hey, Joe, I finally get a hold of you, and you pitch from there, right? So there's tons of opportunities.
We're the door-to-door community. We're not the inside sales community. Come on, Greg. You're asking a lot.
Right.
Sales now? I mean, come on.
Right. Exactly.
No, I mean, well, that's what's crazy is it's like, how nice would that be? You just hit call. Hey, man, I'm at your house. I've been trying to get a hold of you. Your neighbor Tammy next door was like, he's a hard one to get a hold of. So all of a sudden it's like, wait, what? Who is this? Like,
yeah, exactly. Right. And now you've got a relationship. You've made a connection, actually, versus 4 weeks of nobody home. Now you're actually in contact with them. So the pitch goes from there, and you do what you do best, frankly. So it's just a different channel at that point. You're just on the phone. So, and truthfully, what we've been seeing is, you know, it's not necessarily the rep, It's the sales manager. It's the VP. It's the owner that's saying, hey, you know, we've got this really awesome team of reps that just kill it, but how can we support them? You know, how do we give them data pre and post? How do we give them more data at the door? How do we give them more tools to be more intelligent? And instead of casting a wide net, we actually go lobster, we go spear fishing. Right?
I love that.
So that's pretty awesome.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because I know we're running out of time and I know you got to go. But if somebody were to like say, hey, how do I get in touch with Greg? How do they find you? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you know, we can put. I mean, I'll give my email out, give my cell, whatever. You contact me directly. A lot of the resources are going to be on coalinformation.com. I mean, it's really, there's a ton of insight to how to use the data. I mean, we've got APIs, we've got stuff that I don't even know about, frankly. You know, so there's so much to do with the data. Coalinformation.com has a wealth. You can put your name, number in there. Say you came from D2D, we'll get you a discount. We got some of those things set up. So yeah, that'd probably be the best. But if you want to contact me, look me up on Facebook, shoot me a DM. Love to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I'm excited for your workshop at D2DCon. I mean,
yeah,
it's this on steroids. I mean, this is just kind of a teaser, because I think a lot of people, if you listen to this and you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. I've knocked for 6 years. How many people have I talked to? How many people I never talked to because they weren't home? How many people did I never follow up with? How many people would have actually opened the door had they been a little bit more familiar versus I'm the random dude? They're like, oh yeah, we've seen you. You know, we got the text, we got the email, we got the mailer. You know what I mean? Like we got, like, you send a pre-mail mail snail and you like, you know, hit them, and then you're like, hey, you probably got the thing in the mail, right? You're like, yeah. Okay, cool. That's why we're here. We're basically following up on that. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Like so many cool strategies. And I think it'd be fun to dive into some of those at D2DCon. And, you know, obviously, like, I think I watch companies that's like, they're like too cheap to buy this kind of stuff sometimes too. And I'm like, here's the issue. Like, it's the owners that are willing to buy the tools, get the things, help kind of supply the good resources and then use it. You know, it's one thing to buy it. Then another thing is to say, let's go implement some of these strategies that we're talking about. I think that's a recruiting tool. That's a selling feature. That's a, you know, it's just saying like, look, like our company invests in our people because we want to call you and be like, hey, by the way, one of the people in your neighborhood that you're knocking right now just hit us back on the email or the text. Go over that. It's 2 streets away from where you're at right now. Okay, sweet. It's like,
sweet.
Yeah,
warm lead. Let's go.
Like, okay, man, I don't have to get my face kicked in so much today. Like, I'm all about like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen it happen firsthand. That's why I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah, no, and from a D2DCon perspective, man, hats off to you and the team. I mean, it's something we're excited and honored to be kind of supporting again. I mean, last year was so cool to kind of see everyone in that room. And I'm excited for what, a couple weeks from now to be able to go do it again on a bigger scale. So we're stoked on it.
Love it. Okay, Greg, you're the man, dude. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, we'll see you.